What's up, everybody? Tom Pelissero here with Judd Zolgad after... I don't even know what the final score was at this point. I think I fell asleep about midway through the third quarter, taking nothing away from the Vikings, who played very well, did exactly what you're supposed to do to a bad team. The Titans are the worst team I've seen this year.
30-7 was final score, by the way. That was
without their starting quarterback, granted.
If you're just a football fan, that was absolutely one of the most pathetic games you could watch. But I will say this, if you're a Viking fan, they have now achieved the victory total that I predicted for them for the entire season. 4-1 after the victory. As I just told somebody downstairs in the press box, no way I ever saw this coming. No way.
They won 2 games that we looked at on the schedule and said they're going to lose those games.
Yep.
That's where it began, beating San Francisco and beating Detroit. Now they come out on the backside of it, and they have a different sort of a mentality. I mean, face it, they should have done this to the Jaguars. The Jaguars got throttled in Jacksonville, I believe, today by the Bears by 30-odd points.
Right.
That's what should have happened here, too. The Vikings weren't this team the first 2 weeks of the season. Something has clicked. You've got young guys stepping up. They're going to go to Washington next week, which won't be an easy task, whether Robert Griffin III ends up playing or not. It's just not easy to win on the road in the NFL, but they talked the whole offseason about we need to be able to win at home. They've done that 3 out of 3 times so far. Now, can you continue to win on the road? Can you continue to stack this thing together? I mean, they're doing a lot of things right. They're not playing perfect football, but they did so many things well in this game. And the numbers, honestly, don't even tell the full tale. Because if you take away those garbage drives when they went into a prevent defense and the Titans were just throwing slant after slant underneath the soft zones, the Titans didn't even have 100 yards, and I think they had 5 first downs.
And once again, a team that went 3-13 last year, and I think you would agree with me, was soft in every phase of the game. They were mentally soft, and the one thing would happen, and that would be it for them. Continues to be about as tough a team as you can see right now. I mean, the Vikings, since that San Francisco game, and that theme carried on today, they really win ugly, Tom. I mean, these are not attractive football games, but it doesn't matter how they win. And I will say this team continues to have a nasty streak in it that did not even come close to existing last year.
So you like Harrison Smith getting ejected for shoving?
No, that was dumb, but I liked Harrison Smith, his hits beforehand. He continues to play an extremely aggressive style of football. No. Harrison Smith gets ejected early in the second quarter for shoving an official, trying to push him aside after he got in an altercation following an Antoine Winfield interception, as Harrison Smith said. It was a stupid move on my part. What I do like about this team is ever since the third game, there's been a mental toughness that has not existed with this franchise for quite some time.
And you know what part of this is, too? Everybody always talks about you can live with the aggressive mistakes. Even Harrison Smith shoving an official, you're talking about an aggressive guy who does something stupid, but not because he's passive, not because he's getting shoved around and retaliates against somebody. You need to rein that in. You can't go around doing that. You can't get ejected from a game. It's really hard to get ejected in the NFL, let's be honest. There's very few things you can do and get tossed. Shoving an official is one way to do it. But you have so many guys who, even when they're getting beat, they're doing it in an aggressive way. Josh Robinson, they targeted him all day. They kept throwing slants underneath him, but Josh Robinson kept driving on the football. It's not as though he was sitting way back and giving huge cushions. They made a bunch of throws on him, and he's got to get better. But young guys continuing to go out there and play hard. Matt Khalil, I think, continues to take steps forward. I think that we saw that again today. He got beat a couple of times around the edge.
Sure.
That's going to happen, but he continues to take strides forward. You got guys like in the secondary. Look who they have in the secondary today. They have Harrison Smith get ejected. You got Jamarcus Sanford, who's a backup safety. You got Robert Blanton, who's a 5th-round draft pick and a rookie. Josh Robinson's starting today because they wanted to limit Antoine Winfield's snaps, which tells you all you need to know about how much they feared the Titans' passing game today. And then Chris Cook, who came into the season and only played in 12 career games. These are young players coming into their own, and particularly on the defensive side of the ball. We can talk about offense in a second, but on the defensive side of the ball, you look what they're working with right now. You look at how many guys are stepping in and starting for the first time right now. I'm beyond impressed with what they've been able to do defensively.
And if there's one player in defense to me that exemplifies the change from last year to this year, Jamarcus Sanford, right? Jamarcus Sanford is a guy, flat out, first game, or the last week, Mistral Raymond gets hurt a couple weeks ago. Jamarcus Sanford starts against Detroit. Lions go right after him.
First play?
Pass interference penalty called against the Vikings, and you're saying to yourself, oh boy, here we go again. Jamarcus Sanford then gets super aggressive. Does he make mistakes? He absolutely makes mistakes. But now what he does is, when he makes mistakes, he doesn't say to himself, oh no, I'm in trouble. He just keeps playing, and that didn't exist last year. To me, Jamarcus Sanford is the prime example of a player who this year is succeeding in the system, where last year, the first time he got beat, he would have said to himself, this isn't going to work. Now, it always seems to be working. And like you said during the course of the game, too, just the whole vibe around this team is so much more positive. Everything seems to be going right now. Injuries, you don't have a lot of them. I mean, everything about, all the breaks are going their way.
Is the polar opposite of last season.
And do they create some of those breaks?
Of course.
Absolutely they do. But But also in the NFL, you need breaks to go your way, and you're right. It is a 180 of 2011.
Look at the recipe, too, on offense today. Christian Ponder makes a couple of mistakes, throws 2 interceptions on, I believe, consecutive pass attempts after not throwing one the entire season to date. One of them is a ball that just gets tipped around a little bit. It's a bad decision. He's throwing that ball into traffic. The second one I actually think is a pretty good play by the Titans defender, whose name is escaping me right now, but a pretty good play to sink back on that, come underneath the route, and make a play. Those are going to happen. I mean, Ponder's hit several guys in the chest. He had one right before the first interception, got dropped where he hit a guy. They've lived a charmed life to this point, but what does Ponder do? He comes back and he makes some big-time throws. That corner route against man coverage to Kyle Rudolph, that's a difficult throw. Adrian Peterson fights through the ankle. You have a day where Jerome Simpson comes out, can't get one of his legs loose. Percy Harvin steps up and has another monster day like Percy Harvin tends to do.
Let's talk about
and even
Percy.
Michael Jenkins made some plays on third downs.
Let's talk about that 10-yard, the second touchdown, Harvin's third quarter touchdown, 10-yard touchdown where he does all the work. That was phenomenal. He didn't break 2 tackles. He basically
2 guys missed.
He basically juked 2 guys who were left standing in their cleats there, and then he bounced off a third guy. The things Percy Harvin is able to do on a football field every week is remarkable, and the best part about it is you can't game plan for it, right? I mean, you could say we're going to stop Percy Harvin all you want, but on a play like that...
They did. I mean, they were doing it. On those bubble screens,
Right.
they're throwing it out there. The corner's given a 2-yard cushion.
Right.
He's coming up. Percy's just making a miss. I mean,
Right.
the Titans tackled abysmally. They
well,
were really
they're
bad.
They're a bad football team.
They're a bad team.
But Percy Harvin
yeah.
gives you something, and you're right. You're right. Percy's looking at this saying, I'm going to cash in a big way. But good for him, and with the way he plays, I think with Percy what you get is one of those rare players who's actually worth paying to see because you don't know what he's going to do week to week. And that touchdown today, as bad as this game was, and believe me, I would never elect to sit through a game like this ever again if I didn't have to. As bad as that game was, that touchdown was almost worth having to watch that whole game for.
Yeah, the Titans continuing to extend the game in the late stages.
Yeah,
you have
Mike
Javon
Munchak.
Ringer suffer a horrific knee injury.
Yeah.
The Vikings are willing just to kneel down with under 2 minutes to go and say, it's over, let's leave. Mike Munchak starts using timeouts.
Yeah.
Then the Titans get the ball back, commit 2 penalties on offense, and start running draw plays. Are you that desperate to get something out of the $30 million guaranteed you gave to Chris Johnson that you need to give him draws to go, well, he had so many yards. He did the same thing last week. Houston was kicking the crap out of him. They started running the ball with Chris Johnson to rack up number. What are you doing?
What
are you doing?
And we're sitting here for an extra 25 minutes because
that's why I'm bitter. That's why I'm this fired up.
Plays like that. I don't blame
I'm not a football purist. I'm just angry that my time is wasted.
Adrian Peterson's second play of the game, ankle, he tweaks his ankle. He
First carry.
Yep, he said it impacted him the entire first half. He looked better in the second half. He didn't play in the fourth quarter because they were up by so much. That'll be worth watching. And then you mentioned Jerome Simpson was an ankle as well, correct?
It was an ankle that he couldn't seem to push off of in the pregame. They weren't sure what was going on. He wasn't listed on the injury report during the week. Christian Ponder was listed on the injury report. Sounds like it's a bursa sac issue. It's not a ligament damage. It's nothing internal, but it's something he thinks is going to be around for a couple weeks. I'll tell you this. He shot out the gun on a couple of those scrambles. I didn't think that was much of an issue at all.
Which was weird because we both commented in pregame warmups he did not look that great. He looked like he was moving gingerly.
He was wearing a pretty tight wrap on it that didn't allow him to hyperextend the knee at all. So his knee was always sort of half bent.
But I saw him walking around the locker room on Friday, and he looked a little bit gimpy. But you're right. When he scrambled, he looked just fine.
And now it's on to Washington, where the Vikings have won the past 2 years. Now, last year they won while losing Adrian Peterson to his ACL injury.
Christmas Eve, big victory.
The year before that was Leslie Frazier's first game as interim coach, and they won that game as well. This year, slightly different stakes here against a Washington team that still, the NFC East is pretty muddled here. We'll see if Robert Griffin III ends up playing or if they have to go with Kirk Cousins. But this is a Vikings team that's going in there with a chance to improve to 5-1 with the next 2 games at home against teams in Arizona and Tampa Bay. Arizona's record notwithstanding, they should beat 2. You ready for crazy time?
Thursday night against Tampa Bay. Imagine if they win that game because they'll be off all weekend then. Well, that would be 3 more games, right? That's 3 games from now.
Right.
They're sitting at 4-1. They could be sitting 7-1 going into
now you're getting
that weekend off.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
They could be sitting at 7-1. And I said 4-12.
Hey,
I said 4-12.
And we said going
So
into the
much for
season,
me.
if they were 4-4 at the midpoint of the season, then they'd be relevant the second half. At this point, if they're 4-4, something's gone drastically wrong these next 3 weeks.
You're right. And if they win those games, Leslie Frazier contract extension talk.
Here we go.
Get ready for it.
He's Judd. I'm Tom. Full Vikings coverage at 1500ESPN.com. We'll see you.